You might think the way to make a man fall for you is to say the right thing. But what if the most powerful moment you'll ever have with him is when you say nothing at all? There's one silent move that makes a man feel so deeply connected, he won't even understand why he can't stop thinking about you, and most women miss it completely. See, most people try to impress through conversation, stories, and constant energy, but the deepest bonds don't happen in the noise, they happen in the quiet. Imagine this. You're with him, maybe after laughing together or sharing something real, and instead of filling the space with more words, you just stay. You rest your hand gently on his arm, or you look into his eyes and let the moment breathe. You're not performing, you're present. And in that stillness, he feels something rare. He feels safe, understood, and completely seen. That's the moment he starts bonding with you, not because of what you said, but because of how you made him feel in silence. If you've ever felt like you give so much, but it doesn't last, try this. Instead of chasing connection through effort, anchor it through presence. And when you do, watch how he begins to open up in ways he never has before. There's one move, just one, that doesn't only turn him on. It cuts right through his defenses, flips his world inside out, and makes him fall harder than he ever imagined. And no, it's not about being wild. It's about holding control over something far deeper. Are you ready to learn the single move that leaves him helpless while you're on top? This isn't about putting on a performance, it's about pure presence. There's a point where everything lines up, your body, your energy, your intention, and he feels something he can't put into words but never wants to lose. In this moment, we uncover the one move that changes everything, along with the 6 hidden truths that make it unforgettable. When you're on top, the world tips in your favor, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and energetically. It's one of those rare moments where the woman has complete control over the pace, the rhythm, and the emotional heat of the encounter. Yet so many women don't realize the depth of influence they hold right then. They often move quickly, copying what they've seen or what they think is expected. But the women who leave a lasting imprint on a man's soul, they move differently. There's one move, one slow, conscious, intentional action that isn't flashy or dramatic. It's subtle. It's the stillness, the pause, the complete stop of movement, where she locks in, not to please, not to tease, but to own the moment. That pause is electric. It's not silence, it's pure authority. That stillness speaks louder than movement ever could. It says, I'm not here just to be taken. I'm here to be truly felt. When you sit completely still, when you stop mid-motion and make no effort to entertain or overstimulate, something primal takes over. It's not the action that draws him in, it's the energy. You let your hips rest, you slow your breathing, you look him in the eyes and hold that gaze, not with nervousness, not with forced seduction, but with a quiet strength, like a queen surveying her realm. You're not moving for his approval, you're owning your presence. And the moment you stop trying to act sexy, stop trying to impress, stop rushing to keep his attention, and instead sink fully into your own body, that's when he starts falling. Not because you're unpredictable, but because you're real. You've become the moment itself. Men don't truly fall for chaos, they fall for certainty. And when you're on top, rooted and calm, deeply connected, you become the eye of the storm. He may have thought he wanted excitement, speed, and non-stop movement, but in your stillness, he feels something ancient. He senses a presence that wakes up instincts buried deep inside him. You're not saying, look at me, you're saying, feel me. And that difference changes everything. The first is seeking attention. The second is pure power. You're not absent in that pause. You're fully alive in it. You don't drift into thoughts. You stay right there. You keep the eye contact. You stay with your breath. You remain in your skin. That one act, being completely inside yourself, is rarer than most admit. In a world that races through everything, where women believe they must do more, give more, show more, the woman who simply exists in her own presence becomes unforgettable. Because when a man lies down with a woman, what does he really want? Not just physical pleasure. He can get that anywhere. What he truly longs for is to lose himself in someone utterly grounded, someone whose energy is so steady and so rooted in her worth that being with her makes him feel like more of a man. And that doesn't happen through chaos. It happens when you bring stillness into the storm, that moment when you pause, breathing deeply, without fear in your eyes or rush in your movements. That's when he sees your power. Not a power that crushes or belittles, but a power that draws him in, that heals, that pulls at him like gravity. This isn't a move you'll find in some instruction book. It's not something they teach in a class or show in a film. It's sacred presence, something only a woman who knows her own worth can carry. She doesn't need to prove she's desirable, she already is. She doesn't beg for attention. She becomes the force that attention naturally turns toward. In that still moment, fully in control, fully aware, and completely present, she becomes unforgettable. She imprints herself into his memory, not by asking for his approval, but by giving him an experience that touches a hunger he didn't know he had. It's a moment of raw, respectful truth. Most men have never truly been with a woman in full presence. They've seen acts, they've seen roles, they've seen insecurity wrapped in seduction, but they've rarely met stillness in strength. When you pause, sitting still, holding his gaze, you're not freezing. You're leading. You're allowing him to stay with you in that second instead of rushing through it. And the space you create there, that's where connection breathes. That's where love slips in. That's where his walls fall, not because you tore them down, but because your stillness let him lower them. Maybe he can't even explain why. Maybe he'll just say something shifted. But in that moment, he wasn't just feeling your body, he was feeling your essence. Time slowed. His heartbeat grew louder. He stopped thinking and started feeling. He'll remember it, not because it was wild or unpredictable, but because it was real. It was you. The you who doesn't perform, doesn't beg, doesn't hurry. The you who knows her worth without speaking it. Yes, there's one move that can make a man fall while you're on top. And it's not a position, not a trick, not something to copy. It's a choice. The choice to stop, to be, to show him that while the world spins wildly, you do not. You are the anchor, the breath, the pause, the pull of gravity. And that quiet moment, rooted in your presence, becomes the moment he falls, not just for your touch, but for the soul he finally sees beneath it. Most women are taught, both directly and indirectly, that their value in intimacy depends on how much they do, how well they move, how often they change things, how exciting they can make it. They believe speed equals skill. So they rush, they act, they copy what they've seen on screens, thinking the faster or more intense they are, the more he'll feel. But what they don't know is that men don't fall for constant movement, they fall for meaning. 1,000 empty motions can't match one intentional, deeply felt movement that comes from the center of who you are. Not from pressure, not from habit, but from presence. To move with meaning is to slow down enough to feel every single thread of connection, not just the physical sensation, but the emotional charge running underneath it. It's choosing not to move just to keep the moment going, but to let each movement carry a message straight into his senses. You shift your hips not because it's the right thing to do, not because you're following a rule, but because you're in the moment, feeling the full weight of your connection. You're not rushing to get somewhere. You're already inside it. That's what changes everything. When a woman moves with genuine meaning, she's not thinking about what she's supposed to do. She's tuned in. She feels his breath. She hears the quiet between beats. She reacts not with routine patterns, but with pure emotional intelligence expressed through her body. And for a man who's only known quick, friction-filled encounters, this is completely different. A woman who moves with this kind of energy doesn't just excite him, she disarms him. She unlocks something deeper, a sense of surrender, of safety, of mystery. And that is the space he keeps coming back to. Think about it. When you rush, you're not truly present. You're ahead of yourself, trying to keep excitement alive instead of building real connection. Men might not always be able to explain it, but they can sense when something is staged and when it's real. They can feel when your body is chasing approval versus when your movement is offering intimacy. And that is the moment where everything shifts. That's when a man starts bonding, because deep inside every man is a hunger, not just to be wanted, but to be truly felt. And the woman who moves slowly, with intention, becomes the only one who can satisfy that craving. Moving with meaning is about treating each moment as if it matters. You don't skim over it like a task to be completed. You're not just going through motions, hoping he ends up impressed. You're not there to put on a show, you're there to reach him. And reaching someone takes focus, it takes presence, it takes courage. Meaning requires you to take off the mask. It asks you to actually feel, to be brave enough to let your movement come from deep inside, not from some routine you've memorized. That doesn't mean moving like a slow dance the entire time. It means you understand why you're doing what you're doing. Even when the intensity rises, your energy stays steady. You're not scattered, you're aligned. You're not pretending, you're not rushing, you're riding a wave you chose. And he feels that in his bones. He notices that every inch of you is involved, not just your body, but your heart, your awareness, your emotional depth. That's where his fascination takes root. The truth is, any woman can copy moves, but very few can turn emotion into motion. And that's the real edge. That's where the magic hides. When your hips express tenderness, when leaning forward signals trust, when the curve of your body whispers surrender, or when the lift of your spine shows strength, he starts seeing more than a body. He starts seeing you, and he won't forget it. If you want him to fall, let every movement carry meaning. Let each shift be a declaration of presence. Don't move because it's expected. Move because you're called to, because your heart is engaged, because you're listening not just to him, but to yourself. You're not trying to make the moment louder, you're making it deeper. That's the difference between momentum and meaning. One is noise, the other is truth. So next time you're on top, ask yourself, am I performing or am I communicating? Am I moving from self-trust or self-doubt? Am I rushing because I'm afraid he'll lose interest? Or am I brave enough to slow down so he'll feel something real? Men don't crave endless movement. They crave honest movement. Motion that carries emotion. Movement that speaks before words do. That's how you reach his heart, not just his skin. That's how you become the one who stands apart from the blur of forgettable nights. That's how you become the one his body remembers long after the night is over. Most women underestimate the power of their eyes in intimate moments. They focus on their hands, their rhythm, their movement, forgetting that the eyes are the most direct, unfiltered path into someone's soul. When you're on top, you hold more than the physical advantage. You have emotional access. You're in a position where he can't get away from you, not physically, not energetically. And that's why your gaze is your hidden weapon. Not a flirty glance or a playful flutter, but a clear, steady mirror that reflects his own vulnerability, his own longing, and his unspoken need to be seen. Most men won't say they want to be truly seen. They're taught to chase physical release and bury emotional need. But when a woman looks into his eyes with calm certainty, while she's connected to him, without fear, without shame, without flinching, he feels something that changes the way he understands intimacy. It startles him in the best way. Suddenly, it's not just about pleasure anymore, it's about presence. And presence both terrifies and captivates a man, who's only ever experienced surface-level connection. In that gaze, he sees more than desire. He sees reflection, recognition, safety, and truth. When you meet his eyes while you're on top, you're sending a message stronger than anything you could say. I see you. I'm not running. I'm not pretending. I'm not here only to be looked at. I'm here to witness you too. And in that moment, something shifts. Walls he didn't even know he built start to crumble. You hold his gaze not to control, but to connect. Not to overpower, but to steady. You're not demanding, you're simply there, fully. And that steadiness in your eyes reflects the emotional grounding he craves in a world that constantly pulls him in 1,000 directions. Here's what most people miss. It's not about staring him down the entire time. It's about being emotionally available, letting your eyes silently say, you're safe to open up here. Then you match that gaze with breath, with stillness, with real emotion, not with a performance. It's a look full of curiosity, acceptance, and truth. Not pity, not manipulation, just raw openness. Your eyes never lie, and when you let them soften, not to appear weak, but to reveal your openness, he feels it. He leans into it. He relaxes beneath it. And sometimes he starts to trust you more in that moment than he trusted his own body seconds before. Because your eyes have become the mirror, showing him not the image he shows the world, but the man underneath it all. The man who longs to be wanted for who he is, not just for what he gives. And if your gaze reflects that grounded truth, he will never forget it. Most men never experience this. They're used to shallow glances, quick eye contact, or lust-filled stares with no depth. But a woman who truly sees him, she stays with him. She lingers in his memory like a mark on his soul. That woman becomes the spiritual imprint he can't shake. And don't mistake this for trying to figure him out or reading his mind. This is about being present enough that he sees himself through your eyes and likes what he sees. When a man looks up and finds no judgment, no neediness, no distance, only deep knowing, respect, and quiet passion, something shifts inside him. It's not about being sexy in the usual sense. It's about being whole. That's what a grounded gaze communicates. You're not a woman pleading to be adored. You're a woman at peace with herself, inviting him into that peace. And believe this, men fall for peace far more often than they fall for performance. When you use your eyes like a mirror, you also open a two-way exchange. You let him see you, not just your body moving, but the real you inside the experience, the softness, the strength, the vulnerability, the surrender. That shared recognition creates an emotional charge far stronger than anything purely physical. It tells him this isn't a show, this is connection. And men, especially those who pretend they don't need closeness, are starving for that kind of moment. They crave it, but they don't know how to ask. So when it appears unexpectedly through the calm certainty of your gaze, they're shaken in the best way. That single moment when your eyes lock and both of you stop trying, that becomes the memory he holds on to. Not the peak, not the intensity, but that sacred instant where your gaze said, you can be fully yourself with me. Even if he can't explain why, even if he doesn't speak it out loud, his heart will return to that second. Because for once he felt truly seen. And in being seen, he finally felt safe enough to feel. So yes, move your body with confidence, let your energy flow freely, but if you want to reach the places most women never touch, use your eyes as a mirror. Reflect back to him the version of himself he's been too afraid to believe is real. And do it not with expectation but with presence. Not with pressure but with truth. Because once a man sees himself through the calm, fearless, loving eyes of a woman who truly sees him, he doesn't just fall, he chooses to stay. There comes a moment, often unnoticed by most women, when a man is no longer craving more touch, more movement, or more intensity. He's longing for something else. Something no one has dared to give him in that raw, exposed place. And that something isn't another moan, another teasing line, or another seductive whisper. It's a sentence, a simple, grounding, unexpected truth that cuts through every wall he's built, not to hurt him, but to free him. One sentence that melts armor he didn't even know he still carried. Most women speak during intimacy to excite, matching the physical rhythm with sounds, teasing or praise, and there's nothing wrong with that, unless that's all there is, because a man can be turned on anywhere. What breaks him open, what leaves him exposed in the most unforgettable way, is when a woman says something human, something real, something that speaks, not to his physical desire, but to his emotional depth. It doesn't have to be poetic, it just needs to be true. A quiet whisper like "you feel safe," or "I love who you are," or "I'm not going anywhere," or even just "I see you." In that instant, you're not only speaking to the man in front of you, you're speaking to the boy inside him who never heard those words when he needed them. You're speaking to the protector who's carried the belief that he always has to hide, always has to perform, always has to be the strong one. You're speaking to the warrior who's been braced for battle his whole life. And your words become the first reason he finally puts his weapons down. He knows it's not a line. He knows you're not trying to get something from him. He knows it's the truth. And the more simple and sincere it is, the deeper it lands. It can be as unpolished as "you can relax here," or "I'm with you," or "you matter," when said at the right time, not as an attempt to fix him, not when he's distant or upset, but when your bodies are already connected. Those words go further than you can imagine. They bypass logic. They sink straight into his nervous system. Your voice in that moment becomes medicine. Picture this. You're on top of him. The energy between you already high. His body is open, but his mind still guarded, like always. He's there, but not completely. And then you lean in. You hold his face, or his hand, or his gaze, and you speak that one line. Not with drama, but with steady presence, with stillness, with full intention. In that moment, everything changes. His eyes soften. His breathing slows. He might look at you like he's seeing you for the very first time, because he didn't expect it. He didn't prepare for it. And that's why it's pure. Men are experts at holding themselves together. They've learned to separate their feelings, hide their pain, smile through struggle, and push past fear. Most walk around carrying emotional weight no one ever notices. And then a woman like you, a woman who understands her own power, comes along and speaks one truth that tells him he's no longer alone in that moment. And the weight begins to fall. Quietly, slowly, permanently. This isn't about becoming his therapist. It's not about digging into his wounds. It's about being a safe place in the middle of pleasure. That's rare. Most women give either emotional safety or physical connection. Few know how to combine both. But when you do, you create something sacred. Something that, whether he says it or not, becomes a turning point in his life. Don't be surprised if his first reaction is slow or even a step back. When a man hears something that real, in a moment that vulnerable, his first instinct might be disbelief. He might laugh nervously. He might close his eyes. He might go silent. That's not rejection, that's impact. That's his armor hitting the ground. And in the space you've just opened, intimacy stops being only physical, it becomes transformative. The sentence you choose to speak must come from your truth. Don't guess what he wants to hear. Say what you actually feel. That's where the power lives. It's not in perfection, it's in honesty. Even if your voice shakes, if it's real, he'll feel it. He'll remember it long after the night ends. That one line will echo in his heart, not just his mind. Because in a world where men are rewarded for being untouchable, your words will be the reason he finally lets someone touch the real him. And once that happens, once he's experienced a woman who speaks to his soul at the very moment he's most open, he won't crave empty encounters again. He'll crave you. Or more accurately, he'll crave the truth you woke inside him. So don't just say something sexy. Say something true. And let that truth do what touch alone never could. Reach the man behind the mask. That's the moment he stops pretending. That's the moment he starts falling too. They feel they must constantly keep moving to hold his attention, to stroke, to press, to shift, to perform. But the women who truly stay in a man's mind are the ones who know when to stop touching and start holding. It could be placing your hand softly on his chest, not to explore, not to excite, but simply to be there. It could be cupping his face and just staying there, breathing with him. It could be the quiet act of linking your fingers with his and not letting go, sending a silent message that says, "You're safe. I'm not in a hurry. I'm right here with you." This is something people rarely talk about. Every man carries tension. It's not just in his muscles, it's in his heart. He moves through life bracing for something: responsibilities, expectations, demands, past failures, the pressure to perform. Even in moments of intimacy, especially then, many men feel that invisible weight, the need to impress, to lead, to satisfy. When you give him holding instead of constant stimulation, you're giving him something rarer than pleasure. You're giving him peace. For many men, that's unfamiliar ground. But the moment your hands stop rushing and start simply being there, he feels it. His body might not instantly know what it is, but his soul does. It's the feeling of being received. To hold a man is not to fix him or to heal him. It's not about being his therapist or his savior. It's about being still enough, open enough, soft enough that he can relax without feeling he's losing his masculinity. When you press your palm to his chest, not to control, but to connect, you're telling him, you don't have to do anything right now. You can just be. That message, that permission, is freeing. When you're on top and you place your body gently yet firmly over his, not bouncing, not grinding, not performing, it becomes a sacred act of surrender. It's not passive, it's powerful. You are saying, I'm fully here. I'm not trying to impress or escape. I'm holding this moment with you, for you, because you matter.